In Armagh or Tyrone, on a morning in June in 1951, I fell between two stones. College Lands, in County Armagh but skirting the Tyrone border, is part of who I am. The River Blackwater, the village of the Moy, my childhood home is a recurring theme in my poetry. The townland is home to only 42 distinct surnames. And in amongst the apple trees that carpet the countryside, one family has blossomed.
The County Armagh family is celebrating a birthday party with a difference today. The Donnelly family were marking one member's 90th, but in total the 14 surviving siblings' ages come to 1,117 years, making them, they believe, the oldest living siblings in the world.
I just rung around and checked the date of birth, and we're afraid we're just short of 1,200 years between us. And I don't know, I think we've learned a lot in 1,200 years of life.
That's Austin Donnelly. I grew up in College Lands with him and his twin brother, Leo. My mother was the schoolmistress, the world of Castor and Pollux. There were twins in her own class. She could never tell which was which. Austin and Leo, the twins my mother could never tell apart, were only 2 of the 16 Donnelly children. There were only 3 Muldoon imps, hardly world record material.
There are 14 of us, and all as healthy as we were when we were, I'd say, 50s and 60-year-olds, and some of them even 20-year-olds. They haven't changed. We don't change. We're in the land of youth.
Could this tiny corner of rural Armagh really be the land of youth? Just what is it about this place that has contributed to the Donnellys' longevity?
There was always plenty of work.
We're going to replace the crankshaft in this engine here.
We think caring about one another.
The drink was never seen amongst us at all.
I would attend every 4 or 5 nights a week.
There was never a fat Donnelly reared.
When you're young, if you get good food, then it's spilt into your bones and spilt into you. That is what will give you longevity.
So, could the 14 remaining Donnellys be the world's oldest group of living siblings? Austin, the youngest at 70, thinks it's at least possible.
In a life experience, what must we have between us? Jesus was here 2,000 years ago. We were here the half of that. And I thought that must be some kind of a record. Done some research. The nearest family I could find was 200 or 300 years less. Hey, well, this is interesting.
There had been somebody in Coventry, I think, some brothers, and they were around 1,000 years, but then some of them had died.
As the brothers in Coventry know only too well, time waits for no man.
It's important for us to get this Guinness World Record registered. If we lose one of our family, that takes almost 100 years off it.
One of the elder brothers then, when it was mentioned earlier, he says it's all right, but he says when we start going, he says you may keep on your good suits.
I know this graveyard. My parents are buried here. If you're born in College Lands, this is where you'll end up. Deep into an Armagh winter, Austin, who first contemplated a world record, was laid to rest.
9 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day, Austin went to the Lord, and that's where he is now. Austin and I were the twins. We shared the same prom together. We grew up together, and Mummy dressed us just the same when she was out walking with us. Austin and I were 2 when everybody else was 1, so if anybody tackled us, they were tackling the 2 of us.
The siblings who once numbered 16 are now 13. But through the grief, the chance of a world record remains.
Now that Austin is gone, the baton has been handed to myself and Terry, and we are going to do this. And we will be in the Guinness Book of Record as the oldest family in the world. The Donnelly families from College Lands.
Having taken up the baton from Austin, Terry and Leo must piece together an accumulation of family documents.
I believe the oldest family in the world, somewhere around 1,000. Well, I think we could beat that, Terry. What do you think?
Well, that's to be seen.
Start counting. So, you've Brian ticked here, Terry. So, what age is Brian, Terry? Hello. I think I have a Guinness World Record.
James Patrick Donnelly, that's Seamus.
That's Seamus. I know they need birth certificates, they need photographs, they need different bits of paper. There's a birth certificate. That's William Anthony, that's Tony's.
Leo's looking for this at last, I've got it.
Rosie and Eileen and Peter. Sean is the eldest in the family, Terry. Mairead, Maureen, Tony, Terry. I said Tony twice. 89 years old. You do not look 89, Eileen.
Well, I feel it.
Kathleen, Colin and myself. But Austin has started. I don't know where we're going to stop. This is definitely going to be a Guinness Book of Records. This is where it all happens. In 1921, Daddy came down to buy a churn here, and they ended up with the whole thing.
College Hall. The big house was, and still is, the grandest residence in College Lands, fit for a family of 18.
Well, this is where all the magic happened. This was Daddy and Mummy's bedroom. All the 16 babies were made, and most of them were born in this room, except the last few. My earliest memory was when I was 5. My brother said to me, "Leo, go in and tell Mummy you're 5. And I went in and told Mummy that I was 5 today, Austin and me. There was no big things in birthdays, because there was just too many birthdays.
It may be only bricks and mortar, but the big house is very much at the heart of the family.
If we could bottle the secret for this Donnelly family's long living, I think it's this house and this soil and all the land, and proof of that is because they keep coming back.
The roots of family are unyielding. The Donnelly siblings may have branched out, but they know their place in the world.
We're living here in this house 95 years, and we were all born and reared here. And it's lovely to mark that milestone, to bring them all back to College Hall.
And we're in.
Oh, it's fantastic to see you over.
I couldn't miss it.
5 boys below me and then her, and then 4 boys below her. And there was 10 below me.
It's nice to be part of a big family because you feel that you have someone to call on if ever you're in trouble or in need.
1, 2, 3, 4. We have got everybody here except Colin and Brian. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And me is 11. It might be the last chance to get this family together.
Oh, looking this way. Everybody looking towards me now. We've all got everybody in there for me. Good. Like that. It's a long time since we've been all together like this.
It could be nearly 50 years.
It's 50 years since we last.
50 years since we were in the same together.
That's right, I would say it is. 50 years. At least 50 years. Yeah.
This long overdue get-together won't be toasted with champagne.
Could I take a show of hands for all the pioneers left in the Donnelly family? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And Brian's a pioneer's 8 and Colin's a pioneer's 9. So it's 9 out of the 13. Now, I might take 2 pints in a year if I would take that.
Well, you count it out, Leo, if you take it at all.
Though the Donnellys were pioneers, the family matriarch took a liberal view when it came to alcohol.
When we were young, you'd be just upstairs there in the wardrobe. You would see the Buckfast wine, and it was after the babies were born, and it was taken as a tonic.
So then, Maureen, you saying after everybody said, Maureen, or
Mummy would have, yes.
Are we drink?
No, it wasn't.
Builder strength up, Marion.
No, it was a bit of strength. And she's feeding the baby, so you did need something extra rather than just the milk or whatever.
It's funny we didn't all become alcoholics when we were breastfed with the fast wine.
Perhaps the Donnellys should put their good health down to a certain tonic wine. But it seems another family has been drinking from the cup of eternal youth.
The world's oldest family have lived to a grand old age.
How many siblings are in that married?
Originally there were 16 and they're now down to 12.
It's very interesting, another family from Coventry, and they have it on the internet that they are the oldest family in the world.
We're absolutely beating them hands down, and we're still going. Sorry, Mr. Tweedy, but you're beaten by the Irish once again.
Well, we're going to have to watch it very carefully. Stay on the white line. Don't cross it too quick.
As far as we can see way down, if you could see a bank rising a wee bit, there's a field on the far side of it, but the land that way there was over 100 acres of it. And yet there were hard times, you know. Land was cheap, but money was scarce.
Like most families in college lands, the Donnellys were of farming stock.
If a tractor broke down, well, everything stopped. I remember the force major, the clutch went in it at 4 o'clock in the day. I had the clutch out of it and back in before I went to bed that night. One of the big reasons for the success of this family is the fact we played together, we worked together, we enjoyed the successes together and fixed the failures.
It was a generation before my time, but the Donnellys were reputed to own the very first tractor in the county.
When we got a tractor, nobody could drive them. We could all go front with us, same as driving the horse sitting on its back. Our horse died. We went for a mechanical horse. I can remember the first day it came home, and the neighbours was all gathered round. There might have been 9 or 10 of the neighbours come down to see this new tractor.
And they said, that tractor will destroy your ground. The wheels destroy your ground.
Why is that?
He says you'll begin back to the horse.
They would never return to the horse, and in late 1930s Armagh, it was a serious case of keeping up with the Donnellys.
Well, your mai's a good-looking girl, and she buys a lovely dress, and her neighbour's more money, and she buys a better one. Does she be happy? You ain't saying that.
I hear you, yeah.
Aye, we be jealous.
As the oldest son, Sean was always destined to work the family land, but world events would see him and the new Ford Ferguson travel further afield.
Northern Ireland is making a superb war effort. In 1940 she plans to place 250,000 more acres under the plough.
And that's where Sean come in, a young fella, 17 or 18. He was went off for our tractor in the month of August, September.
From Ulster's fields is pulled much of the flax, which is spun and woven in the country.
Wygashel, across the Blackwater in Tyrone, was flax country, and Sean's services were in high demand.
It didn't matter what time you started in the morning or quit at night, you were paid for the work you done.
Today, the looms of Ulster are weaving wings for aeroplanes and pants for soldiers.
Strong Ulster linen may have supported the war effort, but a young Sean Donnelly wasn't driven by a sense of national pride.
So that was your contributions to the war effort then?
It was all the way about. It was a war effort contribution to me.
As war took a grip of continental Europe, the population of college lands and surrounding areas doubled with foreign soldiers. Stationed close to College Hall was a troop of Belgians.
There was always 4 or 5 of them come to our house and come in and had a cup of tea.
But it wasn't just tea and conversation the Belgians were interested in.
I would say now they had their eyes on some of the female members of the family, all right.
Maureen Donnelly, the eldest Donnelly girl, caught the roving eye of one young Belgian soldier.
One came to our camogie field and a friend of mine hit the ball, the camogie ball, right down and hit near him. I did call him Zivuin and he turned back and looked and then he just went his way and I went home.
Despite not replying to Maureen's pidgin French, Jean, the shy young Belgian, was keen to correspond.
He wrote me a letter and I answered it, and then from that on we seemed to just pass letters.
His initial reticence notwithstanding, the Belgian wasn't backward in coming forward.
We came in the middle of October and I was coming up the road and there he was and he asked me to marry him. And I couldn't understand, but I just said to him I didn't understand, and off he went and I went down home and that was it.
Despite an initial rejection, the love-struck young soldier endured.
A few days later I got a letter from him with a proposal written in the letter. So that was, I thought, well, my goodness. So I did correspond with, and I did tell him that I couldn't marry him because I had plans to be in him. World War III could have started if my parents had got over to that barracks.
The Belgians left College Lands in the winter of 1945, and Maureen would never hear from Jean again, but it wasn't for his lack of trying. The world record bid has unearthed more than just birth certificates. The Donnellys' neglected cupboards and drawers have betrayed some family secrets.
Maureen happened to be staying over in my house, and I said, I have some things that you might be interested in. I think I saw a photograph of a young Belgian soldier and letters that came into my possession.
After all these years, to get a photograph that I never had. That's just as he was those days. Handsome looking young fella.
Unbeknownst to Maureen, Jean never gave up on his unrequited love and continued to write letters for decades. Letters that would never arrive.
These are the letters that I should have got 70 years ago, and I'm getting them in 2016, 70 years later. 28th of the 10th, 1945. I write you for to say you goodbye because I am leaving your country, maybe for always. I shall never forget you. Oh, it's very thoughtful. In Belgium, I shall write to you always. Shall see you in my dreams. Believe it. I must close, and I send you the best regards of little friend of Belgium. Well, now, that is what, if I had got that time, so many years ago, well, at least acknowledge that he had known me.
Maureen has her suspicions about who kept the letters from her.
Well, now, Daddy would be out working, so my mother must have been the only one that would be in the house to get them. She must have opened that letter's address to me and read it, and I suppose the bit of lovey-dovey stuff in it maybe scared them. They thought they were going to lose me. I don't know.
Terry and myself have gathered up all the ages, and we have got to 1,064 years. So that is definitely a world record in my books. We just need Guinness to confirm this, and that's what we're doing now. With all the billions of people on the planet, there's a family from the College Lands. It's the oldest family in the whole world. Now, what does that mean? You could have Brad Pitt coming over, and they might say, Leo, I want to live in that 40 years, for I have too much money and I can't spend it all. I want to know your secret. How much do you need? And I'll say, Brad, come on in, we'll talk about it over a cup of tea. And bring Angelina with you.
He followed the exit sign for Lochgall and herd among the top-heavy apple orchards. This stretch of the Armagh-Tyrone border was planted by Warwickshire men who planted in turn their familiar quick-set damson hedges.
Apples has been running through our veins since before we were born. That's the start of an apple that'll grow 3 or 4 inches diameter. A lot of people have this apple because they grow a beautiful big apple and they go to Mr. Chipling's pies. My daddy got into apples about in the 1930s, so there's apples that Daddy put in 1939 and 40. They're still growing. They'll last for, as I say, 100 years.
The apple trees are as old as the Donnellys themselves, but the family whose name was synonymous with the fruit they grew were also lauded for their athletic prowess, and many of their physical feats took place where the orchard now stands.
Where these apples are planted here was known as the old sports field. And for sports day, the grass was all mowed and cleaned up, ready for the whole community. Naturally, being our field, we put in extra effort to get most of the prizes.
As the vernacular would put it, the apple never falls far from the tree. The Donnellys got their love of sport from their father, Peter.
Daddy was a fantastic sportsman, and I remember the first time ever I beat Daddy at handball. He never played as much after it. And up to that time, nobody could beat Daddy at anything. Probably have his way of saying, time for you to take over, Leo, you and Austin.
Whilst all the Donnellys were athletic, one son was exceedingly good.
There's 5 Ulster medals and there's a few county medals.
Peter Donnelly was dubbed the strong man of college lands for his athletic feats throughout Ulster, where he took on all comers and won.
We were lined up for the 440. I was put at the back marker along with the Ulster champion Joe Sherry. I put on the speed at the start and passed all these young athletes and got out in front. I just kept going on and I could hardly lift my legs. I won the race with ease. I never saw where he was.
Beating Ulster champions was all in a day's work for the legendary Peter Donnelly, and there was plenty of work.
He started at 7:30 in the morning and milked 20 cows, and then for an hour or two in the evening time, Peter would went out for a cross-country run around this land, right down to the Callan River and down to Jimmy Mackle's cannon factory.
But success in mid-century athletic meets wasn't lucrative.
There's never any money or like that. I've seen me getting pictures, fireside mats, maybe a tea set or something like this. The sports committee that were running the event would have these presented and have them all sitting on display so you could see what you were going to run for.
Peter may not have profited financially from his success, but a strict fitness regime may have bought something money can't.
I'm certainly glad we had that healthy lifestyle, because it's given us a good chance to get this world record. It's absolutely amazing that the simple things of life can have you stay on this planet for longer than any family in the whole wide world. This is a big day for the Donnelly family today. Apparently there's a very special package coming this morning. Posty, don't be slow. Well, this is what we've been waiting on. This is the famous letter. Now, I want to get Terry around here. I just don't want to open this on my own. Terry deserves to be here.
Guinness World Records. Officially amazing.
I say.
This is it.
Oh, this looks good. Dear Leo, Guinness World Records application for the highest combined age. I can tell you when I opened the letter with Terry, the excitement was just building up and building up. The current record for the highest combined age is 1,042 years. And then when I read the letter, to tell you the truth, I was hit with a sledgehammer. With your combined age of 1,064 years, you exceed this by 21 years. We had beat them by 22 years almost. So we had proof in black and white we were the oldest family in the world. Next paragraph said, regretfully, it's not a big enough margin. It is not significant enough for us to be able to acknowledge it as a Guinness World Record title. Now that says the Guinness have acknowledged that we are the oldest family in the world by 22 years.
We're the record holders, and there's no doubt about that.
It seems actually being the world's oldest surviving siblings isn't enough to claim an official Guinness World Record. But the Donnellys haven't lived this long to give up now.
6 multiplied by 365. They needed another 6 years added on to that to give us the record. And 6 divided by 13 siblings works out.
It's 184, basically. 184 days. And then we will have fulfilled the requirement.
We can reapply for that record in about 5 months' time. Then we will get it in their big, fat book.
You'll get a certificate to prove it.
Hey, don't you down, I'll die.
No, I'm not down to that.
We've lived this long. 5 more months is no bother to the Donnellys.
And the full moon swaying over Keenahan, the orchard and the cannery, thins to a last yellow hammer and goes. The neighbours gather, all Keenahan and college lands. There is storytelling.